Mythical Serpent Kings. This is part 3 of our trilogy. Prepare yourselves. This is the wildest one. Figured it was best to go out with a bang. Of course, you know this is all in good fun, but we are seriously looking at this scenario to see if there's any there. So bravely we soldier on. They came from the sky on a planet-sized mothership that housed their wandering population, with factories, labs, workshops, power plants, everything to survive in the hostile vastness. They were bipedal, and apart from their scaly skin, they looked a lot like us. Their mission: to develop the wild planets, sons of serpents. Their appearance was that of snakes. They belonged to the mighty reptile people. Their vast family, that of the dinosaurs, had ruled this planet for hundreds of millions of years, giving them a large advantage over the mammals, our ancestors. They had the right to be here as much as us, if not more. They were back home. I call them the former gods, or the terraformers. Their culture was extremely ancient and their knowledge almost endless. They, or other like-minded visitors, began planning this planet infinite time ago, when it was still very young. I have been able to access the age of their civilization at over 4 billion years. The development of Terra started so long ago, has continued until now, respecting the same specifications. If the terraformers belong to different species, they have in any case acted in perfect concert for billions of years, except for the terrible divine wars in which have ravaged the earth on several occasions. The serpents, allied no doubt to another humanoid species, are wise designers of our human lineage. According to many mythologies, Hindu, Greek, Roman, Egyptian, Mayan, etc., other intelligent species have ruled this planet before us. Our humanity would be the 5th or the 6th. For a long time, our masters have watched over the development of the human species. The Bible and other mythological accounts tell us about this distant time when the gods walked among men, endowed with a longevity ranging from several centuries to 2,000 years. Their knowledge and intelligence was much more developed than ours. Suddenly, we understand better the educational role they were able to play vis-a-vis our first ancestor. They were less fond of social relationships or emotional life than we are, preferring the intellect to the emotional. Suddenly, some humans found them heartless, without guts, without emotion, but the serpents thought most humans totally stupid. I must say they weren't entirely wrong. The human race has a large number of nerds, assholes, clumsy, farters, barjots, guns, delatters, and also many more idiots than it should. This being the case, I bet that there is the same proportion of lucens in reptiles, however developed they may be. Terrifying, humiliating, degrading. After a more or less long lapse of time until historic times, we see the reappearance of small groups of humanoid snakes, which immediately become masters in the countries where they settle. They are called the Serpent King. For me, they are the same. They watch over us. They watch us. That's quite normal, since we are theirs. In any case, the behavior of our ancestors was the same towards snakes, whether they were gods or kings. The superior intelligence of the reptilians enabled them to transform humans into cattle, labor, and sometimes slaves. They ruled over our species for many millennia, for so long that our great ancestors gave them innate submission. In the presence of the Serpent Kings, terror paralyzed the men who, adopting humiliating attitudes, degrading behavior, shameful manners. The serpent gods made a reign of terror
until the day they returned home in the system of Alcor, Big Dipper. This does not prevent some of them from coming back to see us from time to time. The Serpent Kings, in any case, it is a possible scenario from our distant past. As soon as I see a link, I have to click on it. Alcor, Ursa Major. It's a pretty cool picture. They came from the planet which is pronounced our or or. If you read
Alan Elliott's The Golden Tongue,
and his exciting considerations, you learned a few bits of this original language that we have transmitted. The former gods, who are also called ancient astronauts. Another link, you have to go there. The Golden Tongue. They came from the planet like Urals. They had a mission. They came to Earth. They lived in a wandering planet with all the equipment needed for terraforming wild planets. They came often. Their motherships were called Atlantis, Punt, Mu, or Hyperborea, according to the Times. Interesting. The ancient astronauts came from the planet also pronounced our, in their language, which they formally taught us. The syllables or our designate the Orion or Aurea, the age of gold.
Entering Section 2.
I think I found the name of their star, because it has one. I have already identified their original constellation, Ursa Major, the Great Bear. Come on. It turns out that this constellation has more than 100 stars. Not all of them visible to the naked eye, but it makes many possible origins for the ancient gods. A friend researcher gave me this precious information. In the Native America indigenous teachings, the Turtle Mountain Chippewa teach that they came from a star in the center of Ursa Major, which is not visible to the eye. Discovered the same fact using another approach. Anyway, let's focus on the invisible stars. 2 stars of the Big Dipper caught my attention for purely intuitive reasons. They are very close. Each is double, even triple. The Arabs have named them Alcor and Mizar since ancient times. Mizar is located 78 light-years from us, and Alcor 3 light-years further. Zeta Ursa Majoris is a star in the constellation of the Great Bear, and is the 2nd star from the end of the chariot. Its traditional name, Mizar, or Mirza, comes from the Arabic mizar, meaning belt. It has an apparent magnitude of plus 2.27 and is of type A1V. But there is another mythical tale that I submit to your sagacity. He, too, can claim a certain plausibility. No doubt the 2 versions have coexisted according to the eras and countries, and according to the character of local deities. As far as I know, the Serpent Kings have appeared since proto-history. They ruled this part of the world for many millennia, but they were enlightened rulers, keen to pass on the most of their immense knowledge. They educated the Olmecs in the secrets of astronomy and space navigation. They educated the Toltecs, like warriors of light, to become astral slayers. They are at the origin of all cultures which succeeded one another in Mesoamerica, to whom they learned architecture, mathematics, cosmology, fine arts, and many crafts.
Wherever they have gone, they have brought about peace, development, and prosperity. They brought the benefits of a hyper-developed civilization to wild lands that human tribes viewed as hunting grounds or battlefields. Mayan snakes. Why are these great civilizers called snakes?
Because they were dangerous. However, I don't believe their bite was fatal, nor that they were crawling on their stomachs. A favorite thesis of neo-archaeology features the first evolved beings on this planet, nicknamed the Reptilians. Well, the Purple Dawn was conducive to reptiles, that's for sure. It may be that evolved beings have come from another star to bring some of their blessings here. These are the serpent gods, of whom mythologies speak. 2 Mayan tombs have been found in Guatemala with hieroglyphics relating to the dynasty of the Serpent Kings. This family ruled for decades over the Mayan Empire 1,300 years ago and used snake heads as an emblem. The carved frieze makes particular mention of 5 leaders who, according to archaeologists, would be the founding fathers of this dynasty, which has now become legendary. Among the Mayans is not a question of gods, but kings, and relatively recent kings. In the Mayan language, serpent is said Kan, to be compared with the Hindi serpent Ka, and the cursed son of the Bible, Cain, who could well also be to the snake people, to the order of the Reptilians.
So Cain and Abel, the 2 sons of the first man, Adam, would represent the reptilian branch of the human branch, which suggests many other scenarios as to the true origin of our species, which will remain an inextricable mystery for a long time to come. If the serpent gods are mentioned in many mythological sources, serpent kings are rarer and more recent. Outside of the Maya country, they are found in the Middle East, the Assyrian vulture snakes, in India, and perhaps elsewhere in the Far East, Korea or Japan, for example. Snakes of India. The Naga, or serpent in Sanskrit, is a mythical being in Hinduism, but the word also basically means serpent. The Nagas, which is Sagan backwards, in religion guard the treasures of nature. Just as dragons keep treasures deep in their caves, now extinct.
Dragons are flying reptiles.
Cousins of snakes and lizards. On the other hand, at the time of this writing, I cannot say whether the dragons included in their ranks beings as evolved as the reptilians who created us. Given the absence of a mythological source, I lean for the negative. Many temples in India worship a serpent statue. The serpent is also a symbol of Kundalini. Fertility and immortality are also their powers. The reptilians placed awakening at the top of their concerns. When the serpent of the Garden of Eden offers the first human couple to taste the knowledge of good and evil, it helps them to grow by offering them awakening. And that does not please God the Father any more than the priests of today, like the awakened ones and the mystics. It is true, the latter seriously comprise the schemes of the former. Think so, they are telling everyone the truth. A shame. As for the pastors, they are no better. Them whose title makes the keepers of a flock of bleeding sheep. Amen. Rama, Lama, and Buddha. The motif of the Serpent King, Mukulinda, housing the Buddha under his hood, is a favorite theme in Buddhist art, including outside India. Should we conclude that the teaching of the historical Buddha came from the very ancient wisdom of our reptilian fathers? Which is not to displease me, I who believe that the first Buddha, true initiator of Buddhism, was called Rama, child of Hyperborea, heir to the multimillennial wisdom of the reptilians. Rama and the Asians pronounce Lama, hence Lamanism, which is Tibetan Buddhism. In my opinion, the ancestor of Buddhism to the old religion of the Bons, Prince of Serpents. I come across another quote which reinforces this conviction. The great sage Nagarjuna, Prince of Serpent, was initiated by the Snake Kings in the certainty that all is empty, sunya. It is he who thus brought to men the completed Buddhist teachings, those of the Mahayana. It is true that his name, Prince of Serpents, does not refer to his reptilian origin, but to this talent for reasoning. Unbelievable was his skill at puffing the head of his audience who nodded under hypnosis. Well, that's what they say. Nothing prevents from imagining that this dialectical talent came to him from his serpentine inheritance, son of a king of the serpents. The Prince of Serpents was also a brilliant orator and a manipulator of the first order. Where's the bug? For me, it holds until proven otherwise. I remain convinced that Homo reptilis persisted among us until a quite close period. But there's also the fish people, too. Don't forget. Maybe there are still some. When we look at some old politicians, we can ask the questions. Vice and debauchery can be read on their faces, where under the grazing light, scales can be seen on their dry, scaly skins. With age, what we are inside can be clearly read on the face. What we are inside can be clearly read. Flying snakes. But there is something else to add about these critters. I quote, in Nepal, the Naga are linked to Amogasti, of which they adorn the canopy, and to Dekara, of which they are the vehicle of the gods. That must be taken literally. We're the reptilians, the pilots of flying devices of their manufacture, aviator snakes, at the orders of the new gods, who then had control of the airspace. What about space? In any case, one thing is certain. The gods owned vehicles, all kinds of vehicles. So we can imagine that the snakes themselves are a vehicle for the gods. Maybe because they were flying snakes, like dragons. Frankly, gods riding flying snakes, that must have had one of those faces. Besides, snakes with wings are dragons, right? No need to look any further. The gods arrived on Earth perched on their dragons, which caused panic among our ancestors. We understand them. With a single jet of flames, these dirty beasts could slay a village. This is like it's Saturn theory personified, almost. In Nepal, the Naga are linked to the Amogasti, with which they adorn the canopy, to the Dekara, of which they are the vehicle of the gods. Maybe because they were flying snakes, like dragons. Frankly, gods riding flying snakes that must have had one of those faces. Besides, snakes with wings are dragons, right? No need to look any further. The end. And he has another one too. It's called the flying serpent.